Hi there, everyone. Welcome to COVID teaching lesson 1 right here from 1103 Almac Drive. I got my good friend and son, Matt Harnell, helping me out. He's my Steven Spielberg right now. So we're going to go over a few things on how to wire an outlet, because that's what we were working on before we left for COVID, some of us, and how to wire a switch. And I don't know if you know this, but you can do your own wiring in the state of Minnesota as long as you pull a permit. So you must pull a permit through the state of Minnesota, and once you're done, the state inspector will come to your house and they will inspect it, and then they will allow you to put in insulation and sheetrock over it. But if you do things illegally, then that's the or else part right here. They will make you rip off your sheetrock and pull out your insulation because they want to make sure that you've done it correctly, because your house can burn down. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over today. Okay. First of all, rule number 1 is you have to make sure that you turn off the power. In all of your homes that you live in, there is a panel in your house where the electricity enters your house, and it has either circuit breakers and or fuses if you live in an old home. So make sure your power is off. Being an electrician can be a rewarding job financially because you can have a lot of toys in the garage. You can probably make $60, $70, $80, $100,000 a year being an electrician, but it's also dangerous, and people have died being an electrician. Rule number 3 is electricity. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it, and the only thing you can do is feel electricity. But sometimes once you feel electricity, you could be dead. Okay, does that make sense? You could be dead if you feel electricity. Most of the time, if you're working with just an outlet, you'll just get a little tingle, a little jingle. And you have to be careful. So make sure your power is off. Okay, these are things that I picked up from working with other people. Is wires should be run neat. Okay, everything should be run super neat. You have to run wires flat. It's way easier to wire staple a wire if it's flat. And I'm going to have Matt stop here right now. Okay, so I have a spool of wire right here, and when I pull it off, you might be able to see that it is flat. So I like to always put my wire on a spool like this, and it comes out, and I weave it in the floor trusses or through the studs, through the holes that we've drilled, and it always stays nice and flat this way. Okay, so that's what I do. Alright, so make sure you run wires flat. If you have a hole, I learned that you can have no more than 3 wires going through a hole. So if you have 3 wires going through a hole, you have to drill another hole if you want to run more wires through this stud, for example. And then everything is neat. Everything, if you can see right here, everything is run parallel, going across. All the holes are drilled at the same height. So we measured it using what's called the tape measure kits. Then we drilled a hole with a right angle drill, which is 90 degrees like this with the self-augering bit, like that. And we drilled through, all the way through. Some of you kids worked on that. And so everything is run neat. When we drill holes, it's always in the center of the stud. It's always the same height. I always run everything at 90 degrees. So we came across here, up 90, over, and everything is neat and wire staple, because that's what electricians look for. And you have to wire staple at least every 2 feet. A staple has to be within 6 inches of the box. So boom, we put 2 wire staples right there. As you can see, it's not 24 inches apart, it's about 8 inches apart. But we have a wire staple 8 inches from the box, at least, and then one up there, and it stays nice and neat. We can piggyback 2 wires. We can only stack 1 wire, piggyback 2 wires together with 1 wire staple. That's a 3/4 inch wire staple. Okay, some tools that you need if you want to be an electrician. It's pretty simple. You need this. This is called a hammer time. You need a hammer because you have to put in what's called wire staples. Okay, bang, 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 right there. Okay, that's one thing. You need a linesman pliers. This is a big 10-inch linesman plier. I like an 8-inch, but this is what I'm using for the demo right here. This is a diagonal cutter. Sometimes, if you look it up on the interwebs, it's called a dike. Another thing you need is a angled diagonal pliers with an angled end like that. This is a nice one right here. So it cuts. You'll see how I use that. You also need what's called a wire stripper right here. And it has different holes in it. And the holes are important. If you start at the bottom right over here, you can see that the hole is big and then it goes down to little. The big hole right there is for a number 10 wire. The second hole up from the bottom is a number 12, a number 14. And the smaller the number, the bigger the wire. So you would use this as your strip gauge right there. Okay, and then the last tool I think is essential is a utility knife. And I would say get a sharp utility knife with a sharp blade. Don't like cut concrete with it. And then use it for electrical work. Make sure it's sharp. All right, now on to the next lesson. Why don't you stop it right there, Matt? All right, common wire for a schoolhouse or any house, residential home, is a 14-2 wire. A 14-2 wire you use for things like lights. So every light in their house probably is run on a 14-2 wire. And again, the bigger the number, the smaller the wire. So bedroom outlets, because it doesn't draw a lot of power, so 14-2. Hallway outlets, it doesn't usually draw a lot of power except for in a vacuum cleaner. Things that draw a little bit more power in a house and require thicker wire, because the lower the number, bigger the wire. You use it in your kitchen because you have blenders, you have crock pots, things like that in your kitchen. And your garage outlets usually have drills and items like that. Outdoor outlets you might have during the holidays as we're approaching shortly. Outdoor outlets require it. Dining room outlets because you might put a crock pot in your dining room. And then bathroom outlets, as women often blow dry their hair, and or men, because we can't just stereotype. And they use curling irons and things like that to make their hair beautiful. 10-3, so now we're getting lower the number, thicker the wire. Electric dryer in our house might require, don't lick your fingers either by the way, because it's Corona. 8-3 wire, a 6-3 wire would be used for a stove or an electric oven. And again, the smaller the number, the thicker the wire. And the thicker the wire, it can have more draw or more amps, so it won't pop your circuit breaker. Okay, you can stop right there, Matt. Okay, so now we're getting to an outlet. So this is an outlet right here that I've already stripped and pigtailed. So what we did is we ran 14-2 wire. I had my friend Tyler Bloom help me. We ran 14-2 wire from our panel, and we started daisy chaining the outlets around this room. So there are several outlets, and we picked up that one. Then we go to this one with 12 or 14-2 wire. Then we went to this one, 14-2 wire. Then to this one, 14-2 wire. Then to this one. And I would say you could have maybe 8 to maximum, 8 boxes on one circuit. And then you would run another wire to pick up any more outlets in the house. Okay, anything with the number 2, so 12-2, 14-2 wire, when you go and strip it, there's 3 different colors of wires. There's a black, which is going to be hot once you turn on the panel. There's a white, which is a neutral, and then there's a bare copper wire in this 14-2 wire. And 14-2 wire is white. And I know I'm going kind of fast. Okay, when you strip a wire out of a box, I'm going to walk this way a little bit. When you strip wire out of a box, I take my Ute knife like this, my sharp Ute knife, and I draw it down the center of the wire, and I don't press too hard if my utility knife is sharp, and I'm doing it at a weird angle because I'm trying to show you, and at the very end I flick it like that. And I'm just going to show you this. And so I peel back this wire like this, and I'm just going to show you, don't stab yourself with the utility knife because it hurts. So I peel off, and you can see there's a black, black will be hot, copper, and then a neutral. Copper is ground, that's white is a neutral. Okay, and that's that. So when I go to strip a wire in a box with my utility knife, I will put my utility knife in the middle, in the center of that wire, and I'll leave 1 inch of insulation in the box. So again, I take my ute knife, if this is a piece of wire, and I draw it right down the center, because if I nick any wires, if I draw it down the center, it's gonna be the neutral, or it's gonna be the, the ground, which doesn't have any insulation on it anyways. Okay, and that's the case with 12-2, 14-2, 10-2 wire, it's gonna be that way. Okay, so again, leave 1 inch of insulation on the wire inside the box. You're gonna cut off the insulation, as you're gonna see in a moment, with a diagonal plier, like this, that's angled at the end. And you're going to leave the box, or the wire sticking out of the box, about 6 inches long. So I'm gonna show you that right now.